I have to invite with great pleasure the panelists here, which are Sergei Stanishev, former Prime Minister of Bulgaria, Mariya Gabriel, former Deputy Prime Minister of Bulgaria. They were also members of the European Parliament. Please take your seats. I'll be in the middle, and you will be around me. And Nataša Bergelj, Ambassador of Slovenia to Bulgaria, and Andrea Ikic-Böhm, also Ambassador to Bulgaria of Austria. Please, the two ladies around me and the gentleman at the two far edges. I'll be in the middle. Yeah. Преди да започнем този панел, искам... Chaos is a Greek word. Thank you, Irina. Преди да започнем нашата сесия, искам специално да благодаря на министрите Караджов и Стайкура за това, което казаха. Преди 10 години публикувахме една визия, която обсъждахме тогава за пръв път с Джордж Кремлис, за дълбинна интеграция между България, Гърция и Румъния във всички регулирани области на бизнеса. Във всички, включително телеком, транспорт, енергетика, и виждам, че на тази идея е дошло времето да се материализира. Mr. Tsomokos, Mr. President, ministers of Greece, Bulgaria, ex-ministers, Kalimera. And I would like to especially congratulate Simeon for picking this concrete day for our conference, because I know that the staff of President Trump is watching carefully what we are going to say today, especially in the second panel. So let us see whether we shall be quoted tonight in the inauguration ceremony. I'll be watching with great interest. Draghi Report, this is the title of our panel, and more precisely the fact that outline is the fact that Draghi noticed a serious gap in innovations, and that is here in the European Union, and it is seen with a naked eye that the gap exists. I will quote a few names: Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, Jared Isaacman, Elon Musk. None of them is in the European Union. Moreover, there is no names compared to them in the European Union. And that's why I will proceed with my first question to our panelists. Suppose you are President Ursula von der Leyen, and you have her power. And don't tell me she doesn't have power. What will you do, and how will you use your power in order to secure, before the end of 2025, to have in the European Union such a name? Mr. Stanishev. Can you hear me?
Well, for sure she has a growing power because the member states are getting weaker due to their political instability. So, first of all, if you want to achieve such a result until the end of 2025, you need to call a miracle maker, you know, Moses or Jesus Christ. I believe more in systemic policies which are interconnected, and I know your passion about high-tech and innovations and software and startups, of course. But actually, the Draghi Report is much broader because it speaks about European competitiveness and its future. And competitiveness involves everything. For me, there are two key words in this report, which is industrialization. Good morning. It was almost a forbidden word for a very long time. And the other element, and the other word, is investment. Investment which, according to Draghi, should be growing to 750 billion euro additional spending and investments in order to catch up and to become competitive again, to close the gap.
Each of us has 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, coming to your questions, if I would be in the position of the President of the European Commission, I would first focus on the weakness of the European single market, because we don't have a single market in many elements. First, energy. So being a person from Southeastern Europe, I would say, connect the region with the rest of Europe and create a European single market. Secondly, finance. We don't have a capital markets union. We don't have a savings union. We actually have 27 different markets, and this is one of the obstacles for our investments and for our startups, unicorns, etc. Then, we need to change the way of public financing. It's too scattered in many directions. Prioritize, create hubs which unite academia, which unite business and government, and focus on the most prospective areas. Otherwise, we have only 11% of unicorns in the world coming from the European continent, not EU, and 1/3 of the EU unicorns, they move somewhere else, mainly to the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister.
The last point is very important as well, sorry. It's intellectual property. Speed up the registration of intellectual property rights.
Thank you very much. You were lucky because the clock was not working, so you got the 2 extra minutes. Deputy Prime Minister Mariya Gabriel, a long, well-experienced member of the European Parliament as well. Mariya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like really to try to be pragmatic. First, I think that if you'd like to show power, because we are not power until now, it's to stop to be only Europe of the reports. We need to act, because we have now 5 reports. The diagnosis is very clearly established. We need urgent action. If I would like also to stay coherent and pragmatic, first thing that I would like to raise is the importance of to establish a list of 500 most promising companies in Europe with a high potential, and immediately to insist on scale-up. We don't have a problem with startups. We don't have a problem with big companies. We need definitely to attack this issue of the scaling up. Second thing, we need really to transform Europe into an attractive continent. EU attractiveness is something that we need to address urgently. Even when we talk about those very rich Americans, actually only 10% of the biggest investors and the richest people in the US are Americans. So we need really to do something. That means, of course, to increase the mobility of researchers. We need a very concrete program. Finally, in a very technical way, it was mentioned, the capital market, but for that, and if you'd like to address also the issue of the scaling up, we need an equity market. We need one single regulator. We need really to give much more opportunities for exit for our companies, because that is something that is a real blockage and we need to address it. So I have the experience of the European Parliament. 1 minute was even enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next is the ambassador of Slovenia, Nataša.
Thank you very much.
Actually, Slovenia has a name which is close to the names that I quote. Sandi Češko is one of the gurus of this world.
That's definitely true. I will be a bit more concrete in terms of the time frame that you have given us. So 1 year, it's a short time frame. So I would think more along the lines to come up with an EU-wide inventor in residence program, for example. So in 1 year, I think that we would be capable actually of inviting a top EU innovator, and making sure that he does come, provide substantial support. I'm thinking along the lines to provide substantial grants, which would go up to several million euros, and also to provide him with the direct connections to the top EU institutions, top universities, top research centers, which we do have. So we would have to support this program in order to secure this global innovator and his presence in the European Union, which would be like at least for 1 year, maybe 2, would definitely have many positive effects. Also showing clearly the EU commitment to become global innovation continent. Additionally, I would propose this program to be branded accordingly with a word which would be easily to remember, which would tell a lot about the content of this kind of a program. So for example, from the word innovative, we could create a word like innovative, like a brand which would show clearly a commitment of the European Union, not only to generate, but also to retain the innovators in the continent. Thank you.
Thank you, and now to the Austrian ambassador, Andrea.
Thank you very much, Solomon, Your Excellencies, dear President of the Sofia Economic Forum, Simeon Tsomokos, and dear guests. Thank you for this most inspiring question. It made me go back immediately 30 years ago when Austria, together with Sweden and Finland, joined the European Union. It was on the 1st of January in '95. And I had the privilege of working in the department preparing Austrian accession. And we were thinking of what would it be to be in the European Union. And my then director said, it's not the big ones that are going to win over the small ones. It's going to be the fast ones that win over the slow ones. So this holds true for any size of any member state, Austria, Bulgaria, and all of us. And actually, this is very timely because tonight, by a working group in the European Parliament, there is going to be a conference, Europe Fast. So this is my first theory. We have to be fast. Now, I'm not pretending to be one of the high positions in the European Commission, but I would say let us not only concentrate on what we miss, but also on what we have. And those business minds that were mentioned, the question is, did they invent something themselves, or did they rather make profit of what other people's invented? And there are also problematic uses because of the secondary possibilities, like you have with hate speech or disinformation, or you cannot control the data that are being used. So why not have genius minds in Europe that think for the common good? It's not being huge that is a profit in itself. And Europe is completely different from America. We have different structures. More than 90% are small and medium-sized enterprises. So we find our way. And there are relevant actors in the EU as well. For instance, there is Spotify, or there is SAP software. And I would also like to mention the Austrian Institute of Science and Technology, founded by then Nobel Prize laureate Professor Zeilinger, who links business with financing. And their research performance ranks relative to the size 3rd in the world. And they get successful grants by the European Research Council, 1st in Europe. So the EU's problem are not bright minds. We have an excellent potential, and I would like to echo what Deputy Prime Minister Mariya Gabriel said, and that is we have to scale up, we have to commercialize, we have to finance in order to bring inventions to the market. And I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Bulgaria. What they have achieved. They have inside the Institute for Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Technology. They do have GATE, and it was opened by Madam Deputy Prime Minister then, Big Data for Smart Society. And I would like to congratulate the regular government that has been voted in, and also on their focus on research and development and innovation. And if I had to imagine that I was the president of the Commission, if I were invited, I would come to Bulgaria soon.
Thank you very much. Actually, all this will be summarized and sent to her, to Ursula von der Leyen. Thank you very much for your great answers. I will tell you what would be my answer if I was Ursula von der Leyen. The first thing would be that I would ask the names that I quoted, Zuckerberg, etc., etc., what would you like in order to move your headquarters to the European Union? And whatever they say, I would do it. As simple as that. And in parallel with this, we have a second solution which we have developed at the Atlantic Club with my colleagues, because the regulations are frequently taboo in the European Union. And let's try to think out of the box. And we have something like between 30 and 40 million companies in the European Union. And we should incentivize them, encourage them to open their subsidiaries in sub-Saharan Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, there are many more benefits of such a solution, but the first thing is that the regulations will not necessarily work there. These companies could operate in a way in which we can only dream. And why in sub-Saharan Africa? Could you please put the picture of Africa on the... look at Africa. In the population of Europe was 3 times more than the population of Africa. In 2047, we're expecting the population of Africa to be 4 times the population of Europe. We are expecting huge flow of migration, which we shall discuss in the panel with Ambassador Benisheva at 1:20. But in this concrete, for the purposes of this panel, this is a solution which would avoid number of the obstacles that we have here in the European Union. Now, let's move to the next question. Suppose you're again Ursula von der Leyen. She will receive a very good report from this conference today. And America is too big, too far across the Atlantic, etc., etc. Let's look at some smaller countries, like Switzerland or Israel. They are the 2 top leaders in innovations, and Israel has number 1 per capita startups. So what would you borrow from countries like Switzerland or Israel or other leaders in the innovations that you could effectively implement in the European Union in 2025? I put on purpose 2025 because we need timetable. We are in a hurry. And now let's start from the other way around with the Austrian ambassador. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Of course, we will continue to cooperate with Israel. We will continue to cooperate with Switzerland, who, by the way, together with Austria and Germany are most advanced in quantum technology. But let us ask ourselves, how much, globally spoken, do we have to import into the European Union? Our solutions are in Europe, and we just have to do our homework. We just have to build this European innovation area and the agenda that is more ambitious, that we update, that we upgrade, and again, we have to be fast. And we have to increase, this has also been said by the Deputy Prime Minister this morning, public and private investments in innovation. In fact, in Austria, there is innovation and entrepreneurial spirit that attracts many people who would like to establish small startup companies, and we roll out the red carpet They say they come, and the Austrian Business Agency gets everything done for them, but not only to tell them what to do, but also to take care of their children, where to go to school, and they keep on as long as they are here. Austria is an export-oriented country, perhaps this is also of interest, and as to per capita exports, Austria is 10th place in the world and 6th place in the EU. 80% of our exports go out to the European Union, so you can imagine how important it is, what the European Union does and how we thrive. And 1/3 of the products that are produced in Austria are exported. And the Austrian Chamber of Commerce, Advantage Austria, has coined an expression that is called surprisingly ingenious, because we have many hidden champions. As I say, together with Switzerland and Austria, we are in the lead. Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. This is the row. And more than half of the world's leading, hidden champions are in these 3 countries. What is it? It means either we are number 1, 2, or 3 in the world, or we are number 1 in Europe. And this success is driven from factors like focus on production and in-house research, and also skilled labor force like the Austrian vocational training and dual education that we have. And we have a range of hidden champions, just to name a few. You have plastic bottles in front of you. I cannot say about these ones specifically, but Alpla is the world market leader in plastic bottles and capsules. Or Doppelmayr is the world quality leader in rope engineering. For instance, when you have the cable cars or you have gondolas, they mostly built by Doppelmayr. Or the world market leader in water-saving textile production is the Lenzing Group. They only use a fraction of water to produce a cotton shirt. Or Kapsch, the worldwide provider for intelligence transportation, especially, for instance, the toll collection system. Or Frequentis, the world market leader in control of air traffic management with customers like NASA. Or Amst, the world market leader in aviation and aircrew training technology. Or Greentech, the world manufacturing leader of high-quality solar thermal collectors. Or, for instance, Scan, the world leader in online water quality management. And Scheller Bleckmann, oil field equipment, also the market leader. So you see, we can manage, we have bright minds, and we only have to scale up and to integrate and to cooperate and be fast, to be creative, to digitalize, to integrate, to be sustainable, like in economic, in social and environmental issues, to increase capacity and to narrow the gap between the producer and the customer. And then I think we can also make it.
Thank you very much. Mariya.
Well, thank you very much, Solomon, for your question. First of all, I think that you raised a very important point, how important it is for us to strengthen our cooperation with Africa. But first, maybe because just the few last days I listened to some of our African partners, we have really to sit around the table and to be very clear about our expectations, but because the perception that we have here in Europe is not the perception that these people they have on us. Second thing, you mentioned the so-called over-regulation. I think that it's absolutely important more than ever. Innovation needs flexibility, and innovation needs experimentation spaces. I must say that I'm very strongly in favor of an establishment in Europe of special economic zones for experimentation, because if we don't have these spaces for demonstration, test beds, it's quite impossible to see what is workable and how we can rapidly go from research to commercialization. You mentioned also the cooperation with Israel. For me, it's important because it's a great example of interdisciplinary research. In Europe, we should encourage interdisciplinary research. Let's be very honest, research in Europe really stays a little bit conservative. It's something that we have very good examples. That's the case in Israel with agriculture and innovation, for example. That's also the case of United States with defense and research. So we have to be very, very open. Also on the UK and Switzerland, I must say that that could be one of the priorities of the European Union, because with Switzerland and UK, our market will be bigger than the market of the US. And we are already aligned on so many issues. I'm always thinking about the UK, that after the Brexit insisted so much to have Horizon Europe program. And Horizon Europe program, it's research, it's industry, it's innovation. So more than ever, there is a momentum to seize and to see how together with Switzerland and UK, we can work on clear priorities, because we share data. We have already success stories, we need to give them visibility, and it's a great signal to all those talented researchers, universities, small and medium companies or startups. If they know that they have this perspective, I think that there is a big potential to unlock.
Thank you, thank you. Well noted. Nataša.
Yes, thank you. I do agree that we have everything in Europe, what it takes in order to proceed accordingly and to gain our goals in bridging this innovation gap. On the other side, I also would not really hide from importing innovation policies from other countries which have proven to be efficient and successful elsewhere. For example, if we tackle some of the key challenges the EU has in bridging the innovation gap, let's take, for example, the EU's lack of a robust venture capital mechanism. This is something that the EU does not have. And looking into the innovation policy or program that Israel carries out quite successfully, it goes under the name YOSMA program, I think that they're actually making a very good success in combining the public funds with private investments, and in this way attracting global capital. Another key challenge that EU has is that we excel in research, we all know that, but we have huge problems and we struggle when it comes to commercializing our breakthroughs. So here again, I would look into the policy which is very effective in Singapore. It runs under the name SG Innovate. They have a very remarkable results when it comes in connecting startups with big corporations. And they create a very effective partnerships which accelerate real-world application and also reduce time to market. So something which has been already mentioned by Andrea. Another challenge that the EU has, it is also our strength, but in case of testing the new technologies, let's look into the EU diversity, for example. So here I would apply the policy they exercise quite successfully in China, which of course is very diverse with all the different regions. So, already said, it is a strength, but also we need to test a specific regional context and regional circumstances. So China, for example, they introduced localized pilot projects in order to see whether a certain new technology would prove efficient or not. And this is also something that, in my opinion, we could benefit from.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Well, first of all, 2025 will be a very important year indeed, because after the Draghi Report in November, there was a declaration from Budapest of the European Council, which gave very clear mandate to the Commission to present by June a horizontal strategy on competitiveness. And many other events should happen. So indeed, we don't have to invent the bicycle in Europe, because we are no more the center of the world. And it's not only Israel or Switzerland, but many other countries. I would start with the United States Inflation Reduction Act. This is a very concrete example of innovative industrial policy which attracts back location of industries in the United States, and we should learn from them. Israel is a very good example of a holistic approach how to make a nation a startup nation. But being a Bulgarian, I would specifically take for Bulgaria the water management system in Israel, with all the innovations which have been imposed there and which are very effective, and we're having a water crisis in my country. And look at Singapore, a small country, but it has very good hubs which unite government, business, academia, and which is a very good example for Europe. So we should change our mindset. We should become more competitive as Europeans and take good examples, adapt them, and implement them.
Thank you. Do, by any chance, the ambassadors of Switzerland or Israel are around? Yes. What would you add, Ambassador? We haven't discussed this with him. This is improvisation for him.
I think that the one thing that was mentioned here is, and for us is very important, is the cooperation between...
The microphone is coming.
Thank you. I don't want to take too much of the time of the panelists, but I would say that the cooperation between Israel and the European Union is extremely important. We are having few programs of cooperation that allows our companies and the academy to work together, and this is, I think it's important for us, it's important for Europe. And yes, in the end, Israel is very much into the aspects of innovation because we don't have a lot of alternatives. Mr. Stanishev mentioned the water management, for example. We know what are the challenges of water in Israel. 60% of our country is desert, so it's very clear that we have to find solutions, and without finding solutions, not only us we are going to suffer, but also all the region. So part of it is necessity, but this necessity is something that we can share, that we will be happy to work with Europe all the time, and I hope that it will keep on like that as it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we proceed with the normal program. We go to the next question. Suppose, again, you are Ursula von der Leyen. What is the new, big, out-of-the-box enlargement of the European Union you would suggest, you would dream of, in order to change the mindset of the European Union, and so to say, to disrupt the Brussels bulb? Stanishev.
The most disruptive approach, and I read in The Economist with a title saying, why Canada should join the European Union. It's out of Europe, but then it makes a lot of sense because Canada doesn't have a lot of population, I think about 30 million people, but a lot of resources. And Europe has a lot of population, 450 million people, not enough natural resources. And it would make a very good economic sense, especially considering the recent statements that Canada can become a 51st state. At least Europe does not want to swallow Canada, but starting we could actually implement CETA because it's now only temporarily implemented without being ratified by all member countries. But speaking of enlargement in our European region, I would say we have to speed up the
Before moving to the region, Simeon, would you allow me to ask the audience, would you agree that it is a good idea, Canada, to join the European Union? Who is in favor? Please raise your hand. We have more or less a majority, so we can say that the conference voted the first decision for today. We invite Canada to join the European Union. Congratulations to the Prime Minister who was the author of this great idea. What next?
It's The Economist, the authors. I'm just quoting. But then it makes sense. Not that it will happen. Okay, speaking of the region, we have to speed up the Western Balkans integration. Look, it's 17 years since Bulgaria and Romania joined the European Union, and since then, only one country, Croatia, joined in 2013, and it's a shame. And discontent is growing in these countries because it's impatience, because we don't see enough progress. So there should be a clear roadmap which gives every year one step forward. We understand that there are criteria, but we should think geopolitically. There are no empty spaces, and I'm glad that finally, this approach after Russia's invasion into Ukraine has started dominating in the approach of the European Union. So, being President von der Leyen, I would speed up this process this year to give a clear timeline and perspective to these countries. And Ukraine, of course. It makes a lot of economic sense, but in order to get there, first of all, I'm missing European peace initiatives. Everybody is talking about Trump's plan about peace in Ukraine. I don't hear about European attitude. Yes, we had to support and we are supporting Ukraine, but without looking for political solutions, we cannot speak about integration into the European Union. And of course, the next step would be economic reconstruction, where the countries from our region should play a key role.
And you yourselves were born in Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken? Kherson? Yes. Yeah. Speaking from the horse's mouth, Nataša.
Yes, thank you. It's a very interesting idea how to align these out-of-the-box enlargement policies with the EU innovation struggles or innovation goals. I think it would be very important actually to reward the candidate countries which are striving for the membership for their innovation orientation. So basically the EU should provide additional incentives, additional positive incentives and support to the candidate countries who would do a good job in aligning with the EU innovation goals. For example, this would be one of the possibilities. We could look their commitments in the field of R&D investments. We could also look how they are doing when it comes to the STEM education. And we also could help them out in order to have more direct connection with the top European institutions in the field of research and science. Another point which I would like to raise is how to include the innovative diaspora which is actually living and working in the EU, but they are coming from the candidate countries. So in order to balance the brain drain initiative, I think that we should somehow upgrade this tendency, or to change it into the brain circulation tendency. So we somehow would have to support these scientists and researchers which are doing their job in the EU countries and support them to contribute also to the development of their candidate countries likewise. This would be one of the possibilities that we should look into.
Thank you. Now, Mariya.
Talking about Draghi Report, we didn't mention until now two important issues: that there is a need of new industrial policy, because it's clearly that in the Draghi Report that's a weakness. And the second, the defense, because economy and security are interlinked, and there is no strong economy without security. And that's why we need also here to look, and for me it's really important in the supply chain finally to include Eastern Europe, because that is not the case actually. But of course, when we talk about enlargement, I would also like really to join my voice. For me, it's more than ever important by 2030 at least to have 2 countries from Western Balkans joining EU. The investment in Western Balkans is one of the best investments in our long-term security. But also, we need to look around and in the world to diversify our global partnerships. We should not only stay focused on our immediate neighborhood, but also to think like countries like India. Because when we talk about India, we have 3 levels of relations. C2C, citizen to citizens, is excellent. B2B, it's very good. But G2G, government to government, we have things to improve, and there is a potential to unlock. And that's not the only one. Africa was mentioned. Also, we should stay aligned completely, or maybe there is an opportunity for Europe to rethink the approach on China. because I think that here we have a special, an important role to play. So yes, for me, if you'd like to change the mindset again, we need to act as a power, because until now, Europe is acting like a witness. We are observing, we try to avoid conflicts, we fear the provocations. We should not be provocative, but we should be much more assertive, really giving much more visibility to our strengths, and that's the way to convince others that we are able to defend, to protect, and to advance. Thank you.
Andrea, thank you, Mariya.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank wholeheartedly all distinguished panelists for putting such a focus on enlargement, also when we come to disruptive possibilities to bring forward developments. As to Austria, of course, we have historical, we have cultural, we have economic close ties with Southeastern Europe, with the Western Balkans. 500,000 of Austrians have their roots in this region. And Austria is one of the largest investors, either number one, like in North Macedonia or in Bosnia-Herzegovina, or we are among the first 10 investors. And so it is not by surprise that the Austrian Minister for European and International Affairs and now Federal Chancellor, Alexander Schallenberg, he coined the out-of-the-box concept of gradual integration. And this gradual integration for the Western Balkans means an early gradual extension of the internal market benefits to the candidate countries while remaining the stability of the economies. For instance, about the single payment area, which has already been realized for some of the countries, or to bring the standards to the EU rail market, or joint procurement for critical medicines. And not only, but especially since the Russian war on Ukraine, this process has gained momentum, and we have to make this process more dynamic. We have to make it tangible, and we have to make it credible for the countries. And we have foremost to get these binary concepts of yes or no, or everything or nothing, because if we start with some areas, we bring the countries really closer to the European Union and finally also to our values. And Austria, together with the Friends of the Western Balkans, this is also an out-of-the-box initiative by Minister Schallenberg. We are successful in pushing forward gradual integration in specific fields, and the most important result was the growth plan, where the Western Balkans have the possibility to integrate in some areas of the single market as soon as the necessary reforms are fulfilled. But let's not stay with the internal market. We have also to think of the common foreign and security policy and to bring them closer to the European Union, because the challenges are the same for the countries of the European Union and the Western Balkan countries. So we have to really bring developments forward, and if we want them to align with us, we have to invite them to the table. So we believe that at least twice a year we should invite them to Brussels to hear what we say and also to listen to them. And if I can sum up that, and also perhaps to mention...
Please summarize.
Just two statements. That we also have to concentrate on the young generation, as my Slovenian colleague has said, to counter brain drain. But what I think is most important, to have an image campaign and not only always talk about the risks of this area, but we have to make and see the Western Balkans as a zone of opportunities, of joint investments, and of the possibilities we have there. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Well, after what would be my dream to see for enlargement of the European Union, in addition to Canada, of course, I'll be very happy to have back in the European Union Greenland, as it was once upon a time, Iceland, and once again the UK. But these are topics which have been discussed a few times. But a topic which has not been discussed many times is the following. We see the development of Cuba, which one day will become democracy. And I think that we can do a lot in order first to help Cuba to become democracy, and second, once it becomes democracy, to become member of both NATO and the European Union to strengthen the transatlantic link. Now we shall go to the concluding remarks, but before the concluding, in which concluding remarks I will ask the panelists for half a minute to say what they believe is the greatest contribution of their country to the European Union after they joined the European Union. And I will ask Theodor Panayotov, who is next to the Minister of Energy, please give him a microphone. Theodor, stand up. Theodor is one of the startup gurus in Bulgaria, and I would be very happy to introduce such a fresh viewpoint outside of what we are here on the panel I would call the Brussels bubble. Theodor, what is your reflection on that?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I have two burning questions in my mind. I've been listening to the panel quite closely the whole morning. One of them is actually simpler, and the other one is a bit harder. The simpler one is the following. So President Trump's inauguration is today, yes. One of the major reforms he announced is the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Bear in mind, this is the simpler question. And its goal is to reduce waste, improve process, maximize efficiency to serve the public. Does Europe need a DOGE, and how it would look like? And the second one, which is the more important question, because it's very, very time sensitive, is AI investments. You all commented the Draghi Report. I haven't heard the word, and this is the elephant in the room. AI, artificial intelligence, is on an exponential curve. So in a few weeks, or maybe a month or 2 months, but within this year, we will see what is called artificial general intelligence, meaning AI, which can do most human economically viable tasks. The question is, how do we close the gap? Because Europe
thank you. Understood.
Invests much less.
Go ahead, Andrea. 30 seconds.
Thank you, Solomon. AI. I would like to mention Sepp Hochreiter, who is at the Keppel University in Austria, and he's one of the world's leading experts in the field of artificial intelligence, and he laid the foundation for voice recognition. And coming to the United States, to your question, Google and Amazon are his customers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Invite him to come for our festival, Hello Space Bulgaria, calling in June. Mariya.
Well, first of all, very honestly, I'm not in favor in any new institution or agency at the European level. We have enough. We have to fulfill with content. So for me, the most important is really to give flexibility to make the 28th regime. That will be already a great signal, or simply to proceed to much more voucher schemes, or just not to have so much bureaucracy when you evaluate the projects. And we have the European Research Council as a nice example. So my position is very clear. On AI, I think that we need first to change the speed of execution and to do AI with entrepreneurs. It's very clear for me, because the last 4 years, Meta invested, for example, 10 billion per year in infrastructure. We don't have our own innovation circle. So I think that, yes, if we change the speed of the execution, we have experimentation spaces, if we do it with entrepreneurs, we have chances here.
Understood. Thank you. Very clear. You're coming from inside, so you don't like institutions anymore. Nataša.
Well, I will just add something. One cannot add much after these interventions, but the one thing which is a huge deficiency from the Europe is its fragmentation, which has been mentioned on several occasions. Also, when it comes to the artificial intelligence, I think that we have several agencies on a national level or maybe on a regional level, but one here I would cheer for one which would be actually created on the European Union level, and because in this way we could compete in a better way, investment-wise, human resources-wise, program-wise. So
thank you. Understood. And the last is 30 seconds for Prime Minister Stanishev.
Definitely there is a need to cut the red tape in Europe, and it will happen this year because the European Council mandated the Commission this year to present 25% reduction of the regulatory burden. This will become a fact. And secondly, on AI, I'm very enthusiastic, it looks very attractive, but the society has to direct it. I guess you have read Professor Acemoglu's brilliant book on power and progress. It should be directed in a way that it would serve the society and create opportunities for all, not create inequality, because then, if we don't do it right, we shall see riots against the AI burning the centers where they're operating.
And speaking of innovations, I have to confess that I'm continuously satisfied by what you guys did in the European Parliament, passing the Bulgarian-born regulation for standardizing the chargers for the mobile phones. Thank you very much. This was a great Bulgarian contribution. Congratulations to all of us. And now I have to introduce the next panel. Thank the panelists, please. The next panel is President Rosen Plevneliev, Vesela Cherneva, Deputy Director of ECFR, Inu Aventuli, Executive Director of the Institute of International Relations, chaired by Ambassador Elena Poptodorova from the Atlantic Club of Bulgaria and the Atlantic Treaty Association in Brussels. Most welcome.